Why can't a Civil War movie happen? The same reasons that you can't see Spider-Man in the Avengers. Now, let's play a little game here. I'm going to play Marvel, all right? And Dennis here is going to play Sony. So Dennis, ironically enough, wearing the red shirt, he owns Spider-Man. And now we're thinking about making a movie together, putting their character into one of my movies, all right? What then starts to happen is a breakdown of this movie will never get made because even if they wanted to make it, whenever they get a draft of the script, Dennis is going to come to me and whine and complain, like the Asian American he is. He's going to come to me and whine and complain about, hey, wait a minute, in this scene, it looks like Spider-Man isn't as tough as Captain America. Rewrite that scene. Oh, wait a minute, now in this scene, why does Dr. Banner have the better dialogue than Peter Parker? I want that scene changed. And me, being the stubborn, greedy Italian that I am, I'm gonna go, wait a minute. Why do you want Spider-Man to rescue Thor here? Thor don't need rescuing from Spider-Man, because they're each trying to protect their properties. Because after this is done, Spider-Man's got to go back. And guess what? Spider-Man, when Sony's making Spider-Man movies, they don't want the events in Marvel movies to dictate what they can and can't do in their movies. Because in the Marvel universe, aliens invaded New York. Well, he doesn't want aliens have invaded New York at some point in our history in his movies. So they don't want to have that crossover. Same goes with Fantastic Four, same goes with X-Men. Wait a minute, why doesn't Wolverine save the girl in this scene instead of Black Widow? We want Wolverine to shine, you know? That, they would never be able to get even the script finished. But let's go on to the other thing. The other big problem becomes finances. Now, there is only so much money to go around. So here I am, Marvel, Dennis Sony, and Schnepp Fox.
Everybody's a mutant. Come on, guys, with me. Spider-Man, you're a mutant. Fantastic Four, they're mutants. And then they're children, too. Everybody's a mutant.
So here we go. Now, we think that if we make this movie, it's going to make a lot of money. Okay, now let's look at my perspective as the head of Marvel. My movie Avengers, I know it made more than this, but let's for argument's sake say $1 billion. It made more. I think it was 1.3 or something like that. My movie Avengers made $1.3 billion. And guess what? Everybody who's ever gone to see an X-Men movie came and saw my movie. Everybody who ever went to go see a Spider-Man movie came and saw my movie too. Everybody saw Avengers several times over. So having X-Men now in my movie, well, they were all going to come see my movie anyway, so I'm not really making any extra money. Everybody who went to go see Spider-Man came to see Avengers too. So by putting Spider-Man in my movie, I'm not making any extra money, maybe 5% more. But now, okay, so I make, instead of $1 billion, maybe our Civil War movie makes $1.2 billion. Okay, but now instead of me getting all the $1 billion, I've got to split that 1.2 up with 2 other people.
Hey, why you gotta be so greedy? Let's all together, money. We're all mutants. Come on.
We're all mutants. So now instead of me getting $1 billion, I'm getting $400 million. When if I just did the movie myself, I would have gotten like $800 more million. So from a creative point of view, this can never happen because they'd never be able to agree on whose character shines. From a financial point of view, it makes absolutely no sense for Spider-Man to want to be in the Avengers or the Avengers want to be in an X-Men film because they can make more money just doing it on their own instead of doing it together and having to split the profits. It just doesn't work.
If Sony took a new direction with Spider-Man to get the original version with Tobey Maguire and the recent version with Andrew Garfield together as a secret war, could this fix Sony's trust with the Spider-Man franchise?
I want to address, this is an interesting question because, I mean, a lot of the Spider-Man stuff has now come back up again because of these Sony leaks, and understandably so. I first of all want to challenge this whole notion that Spider-Man needs to be fixed. Okay, I'm one of the people, look, I won't argue, even though I liked The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it was, I think, pretty poor, right? Just slightly better than Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi gave us. It was one of the poorest efforts we've seen from Spider-Man. I think there was a lot of things wrong with it, and I can't argue with anybody who really hates it. Like me and Schnepp talk about it. Schnepp hated The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And he and I talk about the movie, and I cannot argue with him. Even though I kind of liked it, yep, that was wrong with it, that was wrong with it, that was wrong with it, that was wrong. There's no arguing. But I will argue with people about the first Amazing Spider-Man. I thought the first Amazing Spider-Man was great. I think it's the second best Spider-Man movie they made behind Raimi's Spider-Man 2. That's just my opinion. But we've had one if we want to call it bad, we've had one bad film in a row. And it gets a lot, and understandably so, when you get a bad film that's disappointing, because even somebody like me who thought it was pretty good, I still was disappointed by it. I was expecting much better. And a lot of people hated it, and I understand why. And so when you're coming off a film like that so disappointed, it's understandable. The torches start getting raised, the pitchforks come out, and people are chanting, give it back to Marvel, give it back to Marvel, give it back to Marvel. Sony and Marvel have reached some kind of a deal. They have reached some kind of a deal. Here's the basic gist of it, all right? Spider-Man, this is funny, the way this is worded, listen to this. The way the official announcement from Marvel and Sony came is that, here's how it's titled, Sony Pictures Entertainment brings Marvel Studios into the Amazing Spider-Man world.
Very weird
It's
wording.
not Spider-Man is being brought into the MCU. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe being brought into the Spider-Man world. I thought this was pretty funny. So here's the basic gist of it. They have reached a deal. Spider-Man is going to appear in his own new film. They are recasting the role. Andrew Garfield will not be returning, which we always said, if they ever do cross us over, the continuity's all out. So they're going to have to recast him. So they are. They're going to be recasting Andrew Garfield's role, so we're going to get ourselves a new Spider-Man. A Spider-Man film is coming, I believe, July 28th, 2017. Yep. So what's going to happen, though, is Spider-Man, the same Spider-Man, will appear in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie prior to Spider-Man's first film. So he's going to be in one Marvel film. He might be in more in the future. For now, they're just saying one. And then he will have his own movie July 28th, 2017. Now, here's some pretty key points. Some people online are saying Marvel got Spider-Man back. They did not. Sony is very clear in the official press release that Sony still owns Spider-Man. They still have total creative control over Spider-Man. They will finance and distribute all standalone Spider-Man films. Now, that's regarding the standalone Spider-Man films. How much control Sony and Marvel split over the Marvel cinematic movies that Spider-Man appears in, that's unclear. I think we can probably assume that at that point, Marvel will have creative control at that point. So, not sure. But just to be clear, Sony still owns, they were very clear in using that word, they still own Spider-Man, they own all the movies, they have full final creative control. That being said, Kevin Feige will come on as a producer for the standalone Spider-Man movies with former Sony Pictures head Amy Pascal, who will also be the producer. I also read on Deadline today that Avi Arad is still executive producer of the Spider-Man films as well, so that's all there as well. Now, how much control a Kevin Feige or influence Kevin Feige will have as a producer, how big of a producer role Kevin Feige is going to have in the Amazing Spider-Man movies is yet to be seen. Because we just talked about it a month ago, right? Kevin Feige is also a producer on the upcoming Fox Deadpool movie. He was also the producer on Punisher Warzone and the producer on Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. But he had very, very little to do with those films, right? So how much influence and input he'll have on the Sony pictures as a full-fledged producer, as a producer in name only, we don't know. We can only hope that it's more of a creative role than another thing. So this all came out of nowhere. Now, the other thing this does is this forces, with a July 28th, 2017 release date, this forces Marvel to move around their release schedule. Because Thor Ragnarok was scheduled to drop on July 28th, 2017. They are now moving Thor Ragnarok to, I believe, November 3rd, 2017. Black Panther now, which had the November 3rd date, is moving to July 6th, 2017. So we're going to get a Black Panther on July 6th, new Spider-Man on July 28th.
I think July. You mean July 2018?
Yeah, pushed back.
2000. Oh, it's
Black Panther pushed back.
Yeah.
No. Black Panther, which had the date November 3rd, will now move up to July 6th, 2017.
Move up.
I heard that it moved back too.
Well, that's in the Variety report.
Oh, yeah.
I think
So-
Thor moved back from
Thor moved back to
I'm happy about
November
Black Panther moving up.
2017.
Yeah.
From July 2017, Black Panther moves up to July 6, 2017. Now, I mean, that's the Variety report. Maybe the Variety report is wrong, but we've got it right here in front of us right now.
Right on.
And then it says Inhumans will now be moved back to summer 2019. Captain Marvel will be moved back to November 2018. Captain America, Civil War, your guys' thoughts about that?
Fantastic, because I saw that little Serpent Society, because we were doing the show live yesterday while you guys were at the announcement, so we kept getting little things while we're trying to. And today's news, Serpent Society, we're like, what's going on over there? Trying to find out Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and Humans. It was it was really fun. to hear all these announcements happening live. So I even lost what we were talking about. Yeah, Civil War. Yeah, it makes total sense. And then a little bit later, I saw some snuck footage from that same press conference where they showed that scene of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers chopping wood and basically forming what is going to become the divisiveness between the two. They're just basically stating it. And, you saw all the scene where he just rips the wood in half. Oh my God.
That was
and
so
then what
awesome.
he said right after that gave me chills. He was like, when you start a war, it's like, what's that line?
Whenever somebody tries to stop a war before it starts, innocent people die.
And it registered.
Always.
Rush and Inglourious Basterds actor Daniel Bruhl has been confirmed for a major role in the upcoming Captain America Civil War film. No word has been given about who the actor will portray. Jeanette Beyer saw the addition of Daniel Bruhl to the cast of Captain America 3.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy him as Baron Zemo. I don't know who he's going to play, but I think he'll play a really good villain, and I'd love to see him play. If they're going to introduce another Cap villain, Zemo would be great. Or slap his head into a little doll character and he's MODOK. Just his face, I don't know.
The cast and synopsis has been revealed for the upcoming Captain America Civil War, which officially began shooting yesterday. 3 major additions to the cast were announced, as Paul Rudd will appear in the film as Scott Lang / Ant-Man. William Hurt reprises his role as General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, last seen in The Incredible Hulk, and Paul Bettany returns as Vision. They join Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie as Falcon, Don Cheadle as War Machine, Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, Emily Van Camp as Agent 13, Daniel Bruhl as Baron Helmut Zemo, Frank Grillo as Crossbones, and the recently announced Martin Freeman in an undisclosed role. The film is described as follows. Captain America Civil War picks up where Avengers Age of Ultron left off, as Steve Rogers leads the new team of Avengers in their continued efforts to safeguard humanity. After another international incident involving the Avengers results in collateral damage, political pressure mounts to install a system of accountability and a governing body to determine when to enlist the services of the team. The new status quo fractures the Avengers while they try to protect the world from a new and a nefarious villain.
Evander Taylor writes, "Hi guys, I have a question about the Spider-Man casting. With Cap 3 starting to shoot and Spider-Man being in it, why has Marvel not released the actor's name yet? Is it still too early? Thanks, and I'm loving Phase 3.
Well, okay, let's get something real clear first. Despite whatever reports you have read, despite whatever you've read online, and despite whatever we're assuming, it is not confirmed by anybody that Spider-Man is going to be in Civil War. It's just not. What we did hear from those initial reports, and this isn't even from Marvel, is that Spider-Man will show up in a Marvel film prior to his first solo film with Sony. There are 3 Marvel films coming out before that. Well, if we're not counting Ant-Man, and we don't think he's showing up in Ant-Man. So we got Civil War. I believe that Doctor Strange comes out before it, and I believe Guardians of the Galaxy 2 comes out before it. I could be wrong about that. But nobody from Marvel, nobody from Sony has said it's going to be Civil War. They just haven't. Robert Downey Jr. was on David Letterman the other night, and David Letterman asked him about it, and Robert Downey Jr. said he may be. I know they're looking to cast a new Spider-Man. That's not really confirmation. Now, if you're going to ask me and I had to put money on it, I would guess that Spider-Man is going to show up in Captain America Civil War.
A report from The Wrap claims to identify the 5 actors who are on Sony's shortlist to be the new Spider-Man in the live-action films. Their list include Asa Butterfield, Hugo, Ender's Game, Timothée Chalamet, 1 and 2, Interstellar, Tom Holland, Locke, The Impossible, Liam James, Psych, The Way, Way Back, and Nat Wolff, The Fault in Our Stars, Paper Towns.
It was big news when Sony and Marvel announced they'd be working out a deal to bring Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And with fans and critics praising the new Spidey played by Tom Holland in Captain America Civil War, fans are now wondering who will be creatively in control of his solo movie. Leave it to Marvel head honcho Kevin Feige to set the record straight once and for all. Speaking with Hey You Guys at the UK premiere of Civil War, Feige was asked who would be handling the creative direction of the new Spidey movie, Marvel or Sony. Feige responded, "Well, I've known all those people for a very long time. Amy Pascal, Tom Rothman, who runs Sony now, I've known for years. So it's been great. They really are supportive in allowing us to make the creative decisions to make Spider-Man Homecoming. But they've been great partners. So far, so good on that movie." Christian, what are your thoughts on Kevin Feige's comments about Spider-Man?
Come on. Do we not know this? I mean, come on. It's like even when this question's asked, inside Kevin Feige's head, he's going, "You guys really asking me this? Think about it. You think we're going to let our property go to a studio that has not done this character justice time and time again, minus Sam Raimi's first 2 Spider-Man. We're going to let this happen and just give it to them. Yeah, you can be part of the shared universe. We trust you. Go ahead. Put Jamie Foxx in it again. You knew that they were going to say, yes, let's make a deal. If we're going to be part of this shared universe, we are going to have a majority of the say of how this character is going to be introduced in your standalone movie, introduced in our Civil War film. It makes total sense. And when it was I think that Dennis and I were on the kind of, this is going to be how it happens when this announcement went down. It just made sense. Why would you give Sony the rights? They haven't proven that they can do justice to this character yet, but the creative team, as far as the vision of where they want to go with it, it makes sense. These comments it's a duh thing.
The first reactions to Captain America Civil War are in, and big surprise, people love it. Critics and industry members gushed about it all on social media, with our own Collider Video crew enthusiastically rubbing it in Mark's face and singing its praises as well. Along with the action being singled out as amazing, special mentions for plot and character development were also commented on, with big shout outs especially going to Spider-Man and Black Panther. Now Marvel will wait and see if box office and audiences will be just as kind when Captain America Civil War comes to theaters on May 6th. Dennis, you saw the movie. Are you surprised by all these positive reactions?
No, I'm not surprised at all. This is a movie we've been all looking forward to. Unfortunately, Mark Ellis over here did not get to see it. You don't screen a movie a month beforehand if you're not confident.
A whole month.
Yes. So Marvel and Disney were very confident. They put it out there. I mean, we don't want to spoil anything. The embargo isn't until Wednesday, so we'll have a non-spoilers review up then. But for now, let's just talk about the actual reaction. All I can say is the atmosphere after the screening was much different than Batman v Superman, where when people came out, Batman v Superman, it was much more mixed. It was kind of like people
some people were really angry.
Yeah, people
I
were
saw
angry,
people storming
or
off,
people that were just,
yelling Martha,
kind of, seemed a little more drained. Where this one, everyone coming out was just like buzzing and talking about. And I'm not gonna ruin the scene, but there is one scene in the movie that I was grinning the whole time. I was watching. I was just smiling.
Is it a word, airport?
Yes.
Airport.
Yes.
Airport.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised at all. Snap.
All right, look. I'm not ruining it. I'm not spoiling anything. A lot of you guys and gals out there were like, Schnepp, don't spoil the movie. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to say anything.
You like to talk.
I love to talk about, especially now that I totally saw Captain America Civil War. What's up? A month before it came out. Ellis, what's up? I'm not going to ruin anything, especially Ellis is my pal. I'm not going to do it for I'm not going to ruin any of it. I will say what a lot of other people have already said. I will echo the sentiments. When you see this airport fight scene that you've seen in the trailers, you have not seen anything yet. Unlike Batman v Superman, where you've seen the trailers and you've seen basically 95% of all of the action scenes in Batman v Superman, this film you've seen maybe 3%, and it's not a joke. It's incredible, and it will blow you away. Comic book fans, anyone who grew up watching Spider-Man or the Avengers or Captain America, any of the cartoons, these kinds of crossovers that you can only dream of happen in this film in such a way that is really astonishing. I loved it. I thought, some things about the overall, story, especially the villain, whatever. You'll hear some people complain about, the character could have been a better villain, but Marvel's always had that problem. They've had that problem, with all their villains, to be honest. But I think this villain didn't bother me like it maybe bothered some other people. But the story was incredible. The emotions that are brought in and develop, like I said. Hats off to the Russo brothers. Hats off to everyone who wrote it and produced it. It's an incredible film. Spider-Man is introduced in such an incredible way. Black Panther also introduced. It's just really well done. And I'll say this also. The stakes with Iron Man v Captain America are so high in this film. So emotionally, you'll be so vested. And it's a really hard decision on who's right. Honestly. So,
well, make sure you guys stay locked into Collider all week, because we're going to have a lot of Civil War coverage and pretty much leading up to the actual release of the movie, which is probably that Friday when I finally get to see it.